Hello, my name is Cheryl, and I'm a 33-year-old writer whose debut mystery novel achieved remarkable success. I've been married to my husband Thomas for 8 years, and we have a 7-year-old son named Gary. Thomas, who used to work, left his job a few years ago to support my burgeoning writing career, which allowed him the freedom to stay at home. Although he occasionally ventured out to play slot machines, our lives seemed stable, until recently. I've been facing a deeply distressing situation. Thomas has been having an affair and, shockingly, has been using my credit card to lavish expensive gifts on his mistress. This betrayal has been a heavy burden for me, especially for the sake of our son. The situation became unbearable when I noticed Thomas dressing unusually smartly one morning in a suit, an attire that seemed out of place given his current routine unemployment. When I inquired, he claimed he was going to a job interview, which I hoped might signal a positive shift in our financial situation. My hope was dashed when Thomas returned home at 2 a.m., leaving me filled with doubts and unease. Exhausted from working late, I was disheartened to see him stumbling through the door well past midnight. He collapsed onto the living room sofa, his suit reeking of alcohol and perfume, his smartphone loosely clutched in his hand with the screen glaringly unlocked. Driven by suspicion, I took a glance at his phone, only to find confirmation of the unthinkable. Thomas was having an affair with none other than my close friend, Gloria. The messages revealed that they had dined at an upscale restaurant with romantic views, a place Thomas had never taken me. The shock of discovering that my trusted friend was involved in this betrayal was like a physical blow. Tears blurred my vision as I grappled with the double betrayal. Gloria, who was married herself, had always been a confidant. I quickly forwarded the incriminating messages to my own phone, needing to safeguard the evidence and giving myself time to plan my next steps. The following morning, Thomas acted as if nothing had happened. I approached him casually, asking, "Hey Thomas, about yesterday. You said you had an interview but came home quite late. What happened?" He avoided eye contact, searching for an excuse. "Actually, I ran into a friend after the interview and we ended up going for a drink," he muttered. When I pressed for details, he snapped, "I don't have to explain everything, do I?" His evasive response only confirmed my worst fears about his deceit with Gloria. A month after uncovering the painful truth, I was still grappling with indecision. Confronting Thomas could spell the end of our marriage, and though I might have already taken action under different circumstances, my primary concern was our son, Gary. I couldn't bear the thought of tearing him away from his father at such a young age. Meanwhile, Thomas seemed to exploit my busy writing schedule, leaving the house more often. Although this hurt, it also provided me with an unexpected chance to gather more evidence of his infidelity during his outings. I sifted through Thomas's belongings and unearthed a collection of receipts for luxury women's items, none of which were present in our home or had been gifted to me. It was evident he was buying these for Gloria, but the source of the funds baffled me. With no job and relying solely on the allowance I provided, there was no apparent way he could afford such extravagant expenses. Determined to uncover more, I decided to follow him, but first I needed someone to watch Gary. I called my brother, who was unaware of the situation. "I'm sorry for calling you on such short notice," I said when he arrived. "No problem," he replied, though his curiosity was evident. "But why the sudden request to look after Gary? You never mentioned anything about needing help." "There's something I need to buy that I can't get online," I explained, crafting a cover story. "Shopping? But you're not really into material things," he remarked, clearly skeptical. "I know," I replied, feeling a pang of guilt for the deception, but understanding it was necessary to protect my family and fully grasp Thomas's betrayal. In the early morning chill, my heart heavy with dread, I asked my brother for a favor. "I need to pick something up from a store today, something that can't be ordered online. Can you watch Gary for a bit?" I tried to keep my voice casual, masking the urgency behind my departure. "Of course, but try to come back soon, okay? Gary might start missing you," my brother responded, concern evident in his voice. "Thank you so much," I said, my gratitude genuine despite the turmoil swirling within me. With my brother's unwitting help, I was free to investigate Thomas's activities. Blending into the crowd, I followed Thomas from a safe distance, my anxiety growing with every step. My worst fears were confirmed when I saw him strolling into an upscale boutique, arm in arm with Gloria. Witnessing their intimacy firsthand was a devastating blow. As they laughed and browsed the items, Thomas eventually made his way to the cashier, solidifying the reality of his betrayal. I watched from behind a display as Thomas confidently handed over a credit card, one that I had kept tucked away in the back of a drawer, reserved solely for emergencies. This secondary card, rarely used by me, had become his secret tool for financing his extravagant purchases. The realization hit me hard. I had been so absorbed in my writing and looming deadlines that I had failed to monitor our finances closely. Significant charges had accumulated on the card due to my recent work-related expenses, and all this time Thomas had been slipping his deceitful transactions onto the same bill. Both our cards were linked to the same account, and I had missed the signs of his betrayal hidden among my legitimate expenses. The depth of his deceit was staggering. Not only had Thomas betrayed my trust romantically, but he had also abused my financial resources. The last remnants of affection I had for him seemed to evaporate instantly. Self-reproach mingled with shock as I chastised myself for not noticing sooner and for allowing his duplicity to go unchecked. The realization of his double betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow, marking a turning point in how I viewed our marriage. Despite the crushing evidence, I struggled to find forgiveness in my heart. With a heavy heart, I discreetly photographed his intimate moments with Gloria before heading home. In the days that followed, I channeled all my energy into devising a plan to confront him. Whenever he was out, I scoured his PC for more clues. Since his phone and computer were linked, I could access their communications with ease. It wasn't long before I uncovered plans for a getaway with Gloria over the upcoming holiday, a 6-day trip. This is my chance, I muttered to myself, a mix of resolve and despair coloring my thoughts. I planned to confront Thomas and settle matters while he was away with his lover. However, I faced a significant obstacle: our son Gary. I needed to shield Gary from the painful truth about his father's affair, and carrying out my plan without him catching wind of any details was going to be tricky. Reluctantly, I decided to enlist my brother's help once more. "I hate to ask, but can you look after Gary during the upcoming holidays?" I inquired, trying to sound casual. "The holidays? You mean all 6 days?" he asked, his voice tinged with suspicion. "Yes, I have something important to handle," I replied, trying to mask my anxiety. "Something important, huh?" He gave me a look that suggested he knew more than I had shared. "Cheryl, you don't have to handle everything on your own." "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Thomas is cheating, isn't he?" he said bluntly. My heart skipped a beat. "How did you?" He cut me off. "I heard it from Gary." "Gary? My son knew?" Even though he was only a child, it seemed he had picked up on enough to realize something was wrong. He had seen his father being close to someone else, and it had clearly upset him. My brother's revelation was a stark reminder of how perceptive children can be, sensing the tension and sadness in the home. I had thought I was shielding Gary from the turmoil, but it was evident he had noticed. "Why?" my brother pressed gently, his words cutting through my defenses. "Thomas's actions have hurt you enough for even Gary to notice. Are you considering staying with him?" As I wrestled with the implications of a divorce, fearing the impact it would have on Gary, my son unexpectedly walked into the room. "It's okay, Mom. I'm on your side," he said with surprising resolve. "I don't want anyone who makes you sad. As long as I have you, I'm fine." His mature words brought tears to my eyes. "Thank you, Gary," I managed, my voice thick with emotion, turning to my brother. Buoyed by the support of my son and brother, I finally found the courage to tackle what needed to be done. Gary and I began planning our move, timing it for when Thomas would be away on his trip with Gloria. My brother helped us pack discreetly, ensuring everything was in place for a swift departure. The evening before Thomas was set to leave, I knew it was time to confront him directly. I found him in our bedroom, packing a suitcase. "Thomas, why are you packing a suitcase? What's going on?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "Oh, I'm going on a trip with some friends starting tomorrow," he replied, avoiding my gaze. "A trip? Why didn't you mention this earlier?" I pressed, pushing for more details. "It's a last-minute plan, nothing serious. I'm using my monthly allowance for it," he said dismissively, clearly trying to end the conversation. Despite his discomfort, Thomas continued to mask the truth. I took a deep breath and in a calm but determined voice that I rarely use, asked, "Are you sure it's just with your friends?" Thomas visibly tense, his shoulders twitching with nerves. Despite his obvious unease, he stubbornly clung to his lie. "Aren't you insistent?" he stammered. "All right," I said, with a tone laden with irony. "Enjoy your trip with your friends." I would have enjoyed it anyway, he muttered, though the assurance in his voice was clearly forced. With everything laid bare, I knew what needed to be done. My brother, my son, and my own resolve had set the stage for a new beginning, free from deceit. Even though Thomas didn't bring it up, it was essential to be accountable. I stepped out of Thomas's room, grappling with a whirlwind of thoughts. If he had been honest from the beginning, perhaps we could have parted on amicable terms, discussing alimony and child support. Despite his betrayal, there was a time when my love for him was deep and unwavering. He had been my rock when my novel flopped, and I wanted to avoid harboring deep bitterness. But given the current circumstances, I had to protect my heart, for the sake of my son and my own future. It was clear that the time had come to make a decisive move. There was no reason to hold back any longer, especially after uncovering more of his deceit. The next morning, after Thomas had left for his trip, I checked the drawer and confirmed that he had taken my credit card again. I acted quickly, calling the card company to report it as lost and had it deactivated. When Gary woke up, his eyes sparkled with excitement. "Mom, today's the day, right? The day we move to our new house." His enthusiasm was infectious and wiped away any remaining doubts I had. "Yes, Gary," I smiled, reassured by his excitement. "I've canceled the credit card, and now it's time for us to start fresh in our new home." With my brother's help, the move went smoothly. We transferred our belongings to the new house, and Thomas's things were sent elsewhere. The next day, as we settled into our new space, a profound sense of peace and anticipation for the future filled me. Then Thomas called. His voice was hesitant. "Hello? Cheryl, I'm having a bit of a problem. This trip is turning out to be more expensive than I thought. Could you possibly send me some money?" I immediately knew he was feeling the pinch because I had frozen the credit card. His indirect request for money was frustrating. "Did you budget for this trip on your own?" I asked calmly. "I'm sorry, but I can't lend you any money," I replied, my patience wearing thin. His response was tinged with frustration. "Don't be like that. If you don't help me, I'll be the only one not enjoying this trip." "Are you kidding me?" I countered, my voice steady. "You mean you'll be the only one left out? After all, you're on a trip. You want to show only the good parts, right? But sorry, the card you took is no longer valid. You'll have to manage." "What are you talking about, Cheryl? What card?" He feigned ignorance. "Don't play dumb," I said firmly. "You're panicking and saying things that don't make sense. I already know you've been cheating on me with my best friend, Gloria. What did you think, that I had no idea?" "No, it's not what you think. I'm not cheating," he protested desperately, but his voice betrayed his fear. I was seething with rage as Thomas continued to deny everything, standing there with my brother and son beside me. My frustration finally erupted. "Stop making excuses. You had a family and you cheated with another woman. On top of that, you've been using someone else's card. Do you even understand how despicable your actions are?" Thomas attempted to soothe the situation. "Cheryl, let's calm down." But it was too late. The truth was out, and there was no going back. How can I remain calm when I'm dealing with the person I despise the most? I shouted into the phone. "Just so you know, I have no intention of forgiving you or helping you. And as for Gloria, she can find her own way. Don't ever show your face to Gary and me again." With those final words, I hung up. Moments later, Gloria called. "Hey Cheryl, what on earth did you do?" "Ah, Gloria, long time no see. How's your trip going with my husband?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Shut up and explain yourself," she snapped. "Don't play dumb," I retorted. "You received Thomas's things at your house, didn't you?" "Indeed," I replied. "When we moved out, I made sure all of my husband's belongings were sent directly to your address. Since you're married too, your husband was there to receive the shipment. I even included a detailed letter explaining everything." Her voice cracked under the stress. "This isn't a joke. What have you done?" "My husband found out, and now he's furious." "Well, you brought this upon yourself by having an affair while married." I shot back. "You were supposed to be my friend. This is a betrayal I can't overlook." "You're the worst. I misjudged you," she accused. "Excuse me," I fired back. "That's rich coming from you. My best friend having an affair with my husband. How could you expect any forgiveness?" "I didn't mean it seriously. It was just a joke," she tried to downplay. "I would never actually be interested in someone like him." "I don't care if it was a joke or not. I'm filing for divorce, and yes, you did have an affair. That's a fact. I'll never forgive you, and I'll be seeking significant compensation, so be prepared." Compensation. What are you talking about? I didn't agree to anything like that, she protested. Well, you're going to hear about it soon enough. It's what you deserve, I concluded as she began to realize the gravity of the situation. I'm a housewife. I can't pay any compensation, she pleaded desperately. I don't care. Figure it out yourself or ask your husband, though I doubt he'll be much help, I said sharply. Oh, and goodbye. I hung up before she could respond and immediately blocked her number. Later, I contacted my lawyer to finalize the divorce and sought compensation from both Thomas and Gloria, along with child support. I also demanded repayment for the unauthorized credit card charges. The financial strain was too much for Gloria's marriage. After settling the compensation, her husband filed for divorce and she found herself without a home. She sought refuge with her parents, but they, disheartened by her actions, turned her away. With limited options, Gloria now lives where she works, taking up night shifts at a local bar. Thomas, too, sought solace with Gloria during this turbulent time. However, overwhelmed by her crisis and furious with him for causing her divorce, she ended their relationship. Thomas now juggles several part-time jobs, struggling to make ends meet. His prolonged unemployment has hindered his ability to find stable work. Should he fall behind on alimony or child support payments, I am prepared to pursue what he owes without hesitation. As for me, life has settled into a peaceful rhythm in our new home with my son. He's growing up fast, and each day brings new joys and adventures. My primary focus is on providing him with all the love and stability he needs, ensuring he never has to face the kind of turmoil we've gone through again. Our days are brighter now, and I'm committed to making sure they stay that way.